Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with Big Hand McGee hanging out with me on another edition of Orpheus Plays, here playing Blade and Sorcery. Yes, the fabulous game where you can conjure giant hands and grab things and Hulk smash with them. Actually, it's not smashing. There we go. Anyway, hope you're doing well wherever you are today, whether it's day or night, or you had a weird dream about having a giant spectral hand that comes out that you can poke people with. Hope you're doing awesome, and hope you continue to do awesome. And if you're not feeling all that great, my big old buddy hand here and me will take care of everything and make you feel a little bit better about your day. All right. So what I wanted to talk about today is something that affects, I think, everybody. No, you know what? I take that back. It does affect every single person out there, and it is anxiety. We'll talk about that. We'll go into a little bit more of a deep dive on anxiety and what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what might work for you, what might not work for you. So we'll go into that. Today we're doing just a one-on-one. Want a little bit more time to gather my thoughts without anything weird. Well, I might up it a little bit later here, make it a little bit more of a beat-down fight. But for the moment, we're just going to start off with this one-on-one mercenary melee only, which means they'll come out and I'll beat their butt with things like this. So do I even have this? No, it doesn't have the silencer on it. Oh well, we'll do this. Slow motion gun kill of the day. I totally missed. Let's see what's going on. There we go. That's too unfair. I'm not going to use that. That's not cool. Instead, we'll use Gimli's axe. Yay! Come on, let's get it on. Take that and a little bit of that. Yes. There you go. Yes. We'll go to sleep now. Okay. So. Oh, good lord. Okay, so, like I said, what I wanted to talk about today was a concept that a lot of people deal with, a lot of people feel anguish and pain over, and that is anxiety. Now, what does anxiety mean? It's this feeling like... Okay, this thing is not quite as cool as I thought it was going to be. It's this feeling like you're nervous about something. You always feel anxious and on edge, right? Orcus the Goblin Cleaver. Works pretty good. She's not a goblin, but it still does some cleaving pretty well. So, anxiety is this general state of you feel unwell. You feel like on edge. Like there's always something that you're missing, that you're forgetting to do. It's that feeling like you left the oven on, right? If you're somewhere. Or you left something running in your house that you didn't want to, okay? It's that feeling... like you're just skittery. Your brain is going in 1,000 different directions. Right now you're nodding your head and you're saying, yeah, no, I get it. But has anyone actually really defined it for you? So that's why we want to start with a baseline. Wow, this thing is... Woof, that's why they call it a cleaver. This is sharp. But I wanted to start with a baseline that everyone can kind of agree on, that anxiety is this thing. It's caused by stress, and stress can come from any of... Ooh. Drama queen of the day! Ding, 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 ding. The one that refuses to get off screen gets a little chop before he goes. One for you too. So now that we have a baseline on the stressors, right? We haven't talked about the stressors that can cause it yet, but now we understand that it can be caused by things that are stressors in your environment. And stressors are things that, exactly how they sound, put stress on you mentally or physically, or, however that works. Okay, so, now, let's talk about where stress comes from, all right? Where that anxiety can start. Of course, a big one that a lot of you probably leapt to right away is money, right? You don't have enough. You're spending it in the wrong place. You're spending too much. Okay. So, when we think about the... Unhand him, sir. When you think about the stress that's caused by money, it's always caused by not being able to figure out how you're going to pay for things, or looking at a bill and going, oh my God, right? Oh geez, there's so much that happened here that, I've spent too much. It's going to cost us. I'm going to have to do extra work and tips, and oh my God, I got to drain the savings and go after the 401k. Now, as someone that's actually done that, right? When we moved, one of the times that we were here in this state, we had to clear out my wife's 401k from another state. She was working for a job in another state entirely, and they had a 401k for her that she'd built up about, $8,000 in it. We withdrew it, we took a penalty, and we ended up using that in order to move. Okay, well, there was obviously stress that was caused by that situation. Yeah, nice. And the stress was because we were trying to figure out how to pay for the move and everything. Okay, that's reasonable, right? We all have stresses about money. There's nothing that's unusual or weird about that, and it causes anxiety because of all those reasons. Okay. One of the other ones that causes a lot of stress and anxiety is relationships. Okay, so if you're someone you're looking for a relationship, or you're looking for someone to share your life with, that causes stress and anxiety because you always think, oh, I'm going to be alone forever. How am I going to ever find someone that's going to love me for who I am and what I love and everything like that? How am I ever going to find somebody that's right for me? Okay, so the anxiety and the stress that comes from that is absolutely valid. It is something that a lot of people feel, but you also get the stress and anxiety from being in a relationship. Of course, if you're with someone that is addicted to something, or someone that has a behavioral issue, it causes stress on you as well as on them, and that can compound. In other words, it can get worse because it builds on itself. Your anxiety and your stress, your partner's anxiety and their stress starts to pile up until it explodes. Okay, so relationship stress. It can also stem from money issues if one person is in charge of the money and they... and I love this sword. And they do something stupid, something like that. It can cause anxiety and stress. Okay. So, now that we have that other one taken care of, probably one of the biggest, along with money, relationships. I'm just kind of poking her lightly with it until she goes. But... so again, why am I addressing these? Well, we kind of need to all, again, have kind of a baseline to understand each other and understand that the stress that we're feeling is not something that we need to suffer with alone. Okay. So, another place that stress can come from. Health issues, right? For me, this is especially poignant because I just had an appendectomy, and it was an emergency thing that happened, and they said, you've got appendicitis, and immediately anxiety and stress, right? You can also have anxiety and stress over things like, have you been told by your doctor or your healthcare provider that you are pre-diabetic, right? And that's scary, isn't it? Being told that you've almost got diabetes. You're on your way to dying from diabetes, right? I chopped her head off that was slick, yo. Anyway, it's things like, oh my God, I'm going to die from diabetes because the doctor says that I'm pre-diabetic, without actually understanding how that works, right? Because of course not. The part of you that feels stress and anxiety is pre-wired to do that. Being paranoid, right? There's always been a saying that says, early men, the ones that were paranoid about what they saw in the corner of their eye are the ones that you're directly related to, because they're the ones that saw something real quick and went, oh, crap, and ran this way. Paranoia is something that is built into us, because if we weren't paranoid about things, we would walk into all sorts of traps in our lives, whether, metaphorical or physical. Whether it be something like a bad investment or a relationship that you don't think is going right, or a transaction, something like that. Cut the legs right out from under you. But paranoia that comes from those things, absolutely natural, absolutely normal. If you're feeling paranoid, okay, so let's just quickly say, if you have an issue with it creeping into your everyday life and affecting you in ways that you can't stop thinking about things, you're obsessing over it, go find healthcare professional to talk to about that, because that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the paranoia that is natural and normal to every single person. When it comes to living your life, you gotta be a little paranoid, don't you? Okay, so Stress and anxiety coming from paranoia. Feeling like, oh, is someone going to break into my house overnight, right? Do I have enough security? Do I have enough ways to defend my family and myself if something goes wrong, right? Anxiety, stress, it keeps building, All right. So now that we know that there are a bunch of different places where anxiety can come from, right? And they're natural places that everyone feels. No matter how weird you think you are, no matter how goofed up and tragic or desperate your situation seems, and that anxiety that's coming from that, remember, you have at least one other person, and I'm saying that, kind of metaphorically. There are way huge numbers of other people that have or are going through exactly what you are going through right now. Exactly. Not down to like the names and the faces and, things like that. But if you just got caught for a crime and you're waiting, you're waiting for the cops to call you, woohoo, and you're waiting for the cops to call you, and you know that call's coming, of course you're going to feel anxious, right? Oh, God. Whether or not you did it, right? If you get a card from a cop that says, we're going to be in touch, you're always feeling anxious about that, right? Because you've seen the true crime things. People that haven't done anything can get tied up in the system for years. Oh, but people that have done something, well, you're screwed because you've seen that more often than not, they can catch you. So that anxiety, oh my God, right? Okay. So different places where that can come from. Totally normal, totally natural, and every other person has felt something like what you're feeling if you have anxiety. Okay. I know I'm saying okay a lot because I'm trying to build a foundation, right? Kind of build a house of what we want to talk about. So now I want to talk about, real quick, dealing with the anxiety. Okay? Because there's a lot of bullshit out there in terms of, if you do a search here on YouTube, like how to manage anxiety and stress, you're going to get 1,000 videos that are some sort of background that's sometimes moving, sometimes not, and it's this like, it's like all you hear is right or something like that with a little bit of twinkly music going in the background. And they tell you, oh, this is 220 megahertz or whatever it is, right? And it's clear your mind, get rid of all stress and anxiety. Now, while binaural audio is sort of scientifically a thing, it's not going to magically erase your stress, right? It can help, it's like someone that says, all you do is light this candle real quick. Oh, we're going to light the candle, breathe it in a little bit, and now I feel much better. All my stress is gone. Yay, let me go on about my day. You and I know that is absolutely not how it works. You get one of those little, one of those ceiling star projectors, right? We've got one of those in our house. Projects neat little laser stars and nebula clouds and stuff on the ceiling. When I'm feeling stressed out and I put that on, I can't see it, but I know you're there. Is that what when I put that on, does that magically make my anxiety melt away? Not by itself, no. Do all of those things together, plus, maybe focusing yourself and doing a little bit of meditation, can that do it? Yeah, it can. But the difficult part about it is when you're all, stressed out and feeling anxiety. Oh no. When you're all stressed out and feeling anxiety about something, do you want to stop and turn on a bunch of lights and go and search for an anti-anxiety video on YouTube and light some candles and sit down in a lotus position and om your way out of it? I don't think that that's always feasible for somebody. You have to kind of start slow. It's not like it's an emergency response to something. So, oh my God, I just found out that my sister's in the hospital or something, right? And you don't know any other information, and you're like, oh God, I'm waiting for someone to call me. You're not going to go light a candle and sit down in the lotus position and om your way out of that, are you? I mean, you might, but it's probably something that you've already been doing for a long time if that's your go-to for stress. Okay, so what do people do in order to deal with stress? Of course, like everything I mentioned, you can put on things. You can have fluffy kitty pictures on your walls or whatever, right? Like we used to have the one in school when I was growing up that was the hang in there baby, and it's a little kitten hanging on to a branch, and you see it kind of trying to put its other one of its legs up on the branch, and it's like, just kind of barely hanging on. It's hang in there baby, right? Okay. Well, stress is something that you gotta manage in ways that are not destructive. Okay? Now, a lot of people manage stress by doing something like self-medication. And self-medication can be very dangerous when it comes to stress. Because a stressful event, an anxiety event, what we would call a panic attack, but not like the full-fledged one where you feel like you're having a heart attack, right? Those... That was not a slow-motion kill, folks, I promise. But, not the full-on panic attack that you see in the media where, suddenly the person's like, really high-pitched, weird, whining in their ears, and they're breathing heavy, grabbing their chest and stuff. That's not the kind of anxiety attack that most of us suffer, okay? It's much more acute than that. And by that I mean that it comes on real quick, and you're like, oh, God, right? And it might go away just as fast, but during those few moments where you're totally feeling that stress, your heart is thumping, your mind is racing, the adrenaline is pumping through your body, and you don't know exactly what to do. It's kind of like, when let's say you've done something like really minimal, right? Like yikes. Like you've got a bunch of parking tickets or something. The minute that lights flick on behind you in the car and it's cop, they're turning their reds and blues on you, you know that anxiety starts to, right? Well, you can't self-medicate in a situation like that, obviously. But self-medication comes in the form of things like marijuana or alcohol, or God forbid, you go on the black market or on the street and get some pills. Now, when you go and you buy, let's say you're someone that goes and buys a couple Xanax now and again, do you know that that's Xanax? Oh, I get it from a trusted friend. How much do you trust that person? Do you trust that person with your life? Where did that person get the pills? Did they get it from their own prescription or from someone else? Or did they get it in mail order from Mexico or from China or something like that, where the regulations don't say how much they have to put into things? It's like, they had this black market Viagra that was out there. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, black market Viagra, before they made it a generic thing, like they made a lot of medications generic over the last 10 years or so, she just walked right into that one, man. But like a lot of medications have become generic, and because of that, a lot of companies have manufactured bogus, versions of them, especially overseas and, down in South America. Okay, well, so how do you know? Are those pills that you just bought off the street legit? Are they something that someone in their house formed up on a, pill machine they bought online? How do you know? Okay, that's kind of like that. Plus, there's everything that goes with, taking a medication that you have not been prescribed. So, taking into account your entire metabolic system, any other pills that you might be on, and supplements, whether it's something you're allergic to or something. How would you like to find out that you're allergic to Xanax at a party? Instead of at home where you can go and seek medical attention or call your doctor. That's what I'm saying, right? Something like that. Okay, so there's dangers with all of that, overdosing, obviously, and because anxiety is such a, come on so fast kind of thing, and it's so intense, a lot of the times when people try to self-medicate their way through that, especially with prescription pills, you can really, really overdo it. Because you're just like, I need this gone now, so you're like, I'm going to take one pill. Okay, 10 minutes pass. I don't feel it yet, so I'm going to take some more. Okay. And then you start feeling way too much, and then you start panicking about that, and it compounds on that, and oh my gosh, right? What do I do now? Maybe I should take a little more. You start to lose the ability to have rational thoughts and rational ideas. And that's how some people spiral down into an overdose and, end up taking their own life from it accidentally a lot of the times, okay? So, pills, not a good idea, okay? And for me, I'll get into what's worked and what hasn't worked for me over the years in terms of anxiety. We'll get to that in a second. So let's cover something like alcohol. Why is it bad to do that with alcohol? Much the same as it is with pills, you can have hard alcohol that you can just do shots of until you feel better. Well, again, if you are under a huge amount of stress and anxiety because of something that's just happened, you're going to probably overdo it real quick. And then what if someone needs you? What if someone calls for you to come and help? What if you have to go and take care of something for somebody? it's dangerous to self-medicate with alcohol in that situation because you're not in a rational state of thought. You're worrying about the anxiety that you have instead of your general situation. You kind of got tunnel vision, right? So when I'm playing this game, I can't see someone that's over there unless I hear them. Tunnel vision. It keeps me focused on what's right here. You won't see the dangers that are over here unless you look. Right in the nuts. Oh, it's followed up with a swipe. This is so unfair. Let's get rid of this. What do I have over here? Oh, Gimli's axe. Okay. So, self-medicating with alcohol, bad idea because, again, you're damaging your body when you drink in order to get rid of memories or stress and anxiety to the point. Now look, okay. Too much. So, look. Uh-oh, I don't have another weapon. No, I need a simple weapon. Something simple. There's one. Ha. Perfect. Okay, so self-medicating with alcohol, not the best idea. But you know what? I get it. If you're someone that goes home and you have a couple beers, you have stress and anxiety in your life, totally normal, okay? If you're someone that goes home and you spark up something in order to get rid of some of your stress and anxiety in life, totally normal. But if you spend your entire day trying to melt that stress away with alcohol or drugs, prescription pills, something like that, you're probably making a harmful choice. You're probably doing something to compound the situation. You're pumping chemicals into your system that can really aggravate that situation and that condition that you're feeling. Okay. So for me, over the years, man, I've tried it all. Not everything. I haven't gone into the harder drugs, anything that you have to snort or inject, nothing like that, okay? Never done anything like that. Never done any crystals of anything. No crack or anything like that, no. But I've done pills over the years, and I'm very fortunate. I'm going to do an episode coming up here at some point about this. I have never, ever been addicted to anything. And before you're like, yeah, right, Orpheus. No, I'm serious. Like, things that normally people would be addicted to, I totally have no problem with one and done. Like once you pop, no one can eat just one Frito-Lay's potato chip. No, I'm the person that can eat one and put the bag away. Right? But, so, I understand addiction is a thing, and it's never been a problem for me, thank God, because I've done pills, Vicodin and stuff like that, Oxycontin, oxycodone. I've done Xanax that I used to steal from my dad. Fortunately, he's not alive anymore, so he can't be mad at me for that anymore. I've done alcohol. I used to make the dumbest choice, and ladies and gentlemen, folks, if you ever take advice from what I do on this, please don't take the advice of something that's not advice. And you'll see what I'm saying in a second. If I tell you a story like, I used to drink a glass of red wine with Xanax until I felt mellow, horrible idea. Life-threatening idea. You can stop breathing so easily by mixing your little sources of stress relief or whatever you're doing. Don't mix the pills with the alcohol, folks. Don't do anything like that because you'll wreck yourself so quickly. Again, your frame of mind, your state of reference kind of goes away when you're on those things. And so you feel mellow. So you're like, maybe I should feel more mellow. And I've done this to the point where I have passed out. And again, horrible idea. I am so lucky to be alive after doing dumb stuff like that. But it is something that I've gone through. I've tried... Boy, I have another story for like the dumb things I did in order to get cannabis over the years. And a lot of the times that was me and in an effort to self-medicate for something. I never knew what kind of cannabis I was getting off the street, right? Even people that I thought I knew and trusted, I know that they're not doing, 100% above board on things, but I still don't know where that stuff came from. I never did. But I would go and endanger my life, endanger my future. I could get into the legal system with trouble, all sorts of things that can happen as a side effect. Jeez, lady. She just won't stop, huh? Second drama queen of the day. Ding, 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 ding. But the trouble that I subjected myself to and the potential trouble that I subjected myself to was just atrocious, right? Looking back on it, you listen to some of the episodes that I've got where I decided to make stupid choices about that stuff. It's incredibly fortunate that I never encountered any more problems than that. All right. So, things like self-medication have not really worked. They have made things worse. You know, temporarily you might feel better about something, but overall, trust me, you're not going to feel any better in the long run. Okay. Now, for me, I've also tried things like working out and meditation and listening to those YouTube channels that do things. But all you're doing is you're focusing on the fact that you need to get rid of the stress. And so you're going ahead and you're, oh my God, I'm just going to focus on that thing on the screen, and it's going, and you're like, oh, I feel so much better now. Except you don't. You're kind of just telling yourself that you do. Oh, it's like a bug collection. Put them in a bin. But it's the idea that, you know, you're trying to relax. I'm trying to relax here. You see that in sitcoms and movies all the time. I'm trying to relax here. Yeah. How well does it go for them when they try to relax? Well, it's not going to go any better for you. So, what has worked for me over the years? Finding a hobby has been something that has worked, right? For me, this game, Blade and Sorcery, I work off on a tremendous amount of, you know, energy and negative feelings and everything in this game. Just being able to come in here and chop up people, it's great. You see me do this all the time in my videos, right? I'm always smacking my weapons together. That's because you can feel it in the haptic response, the vibrating feedback in these handles. This feels like I'm smacking two swords together. Now, I've actually done this in my life. I've got swords that I've smacked together like that and weapons that I've done this with. And so that, for me, it makes me feel that same satisfaction that I used to feel, but it's also this working out of the tension and the stress and everything, right? And am I thinking about the anxiety? Maybe at first, but if it's a hobby or a pastime that you get engrossed in, and trust me, pick something that you're going to be able to get interested in. Don't pick something just because one of your friends said it. Look for something that you know will keep your attention for long enough. So at first you might be like, I'm so stressed out. But as you get going and you start going with, like for me, I start getting into the gameplay, and at a certain point I completely forget about what's going on. And then I'll record a video like this for you guys, and I'm like, yeah, everything's cool now. I feel good because I'm working out, I'm talking to you about things, and just being able to do that, stress reliever, okay? So for me, I've had to find ways that fit me, right? Everyone has their own path when it comes to stress relief and taking care of anxiety. But for me, it wasn't enough. I have PTSD, I have autism and brain damage, few instances of brain damage, and because of that, it can be very difficult for me to control really anything that goes on with anxiety sometimes. Now, it can be made worse by the autism. You know, there are certain triggers out there that can be worse for me than others. Loud noises, bright lights, people yelling, stuff like that can really ramp up my anxiety and stress. And it's not something that I can just get into this headset and do, because there's a lot of loud noises that go by my house. There's a lot of activity here that goes on, and I get really nervous when it comes to hearing sounds outside, people shuffling around and talking. And it's not because I'm paranoid, it's because it just causes me stress. And so what I've had to do, I see a therapist. Okay, that's I see a therapist. That's no secret at all. I've mentioned that on this channel before, and it's nothing that you should feel ashamed about. Whether you need to see a therapist or whether you're seeing one right now, there's no shame in it. There's no, you shouldn't feel bad about it at all. And the reason is stuff like what I'm about to tell you. I suffered with it for so long, and I never mentioned it to anybody, because you always get that feeling like, well, everybody feels stressed, everybody's stressed out, everyone's got anxiety, why should I be I don't need medications for this stuff, I can just go home, crack a beer, and Well, it turned out that when I mentioned it to my most recent therapist, okay, the one that I've Just kind of butter knife that off. The one that I've been with for several years now. When I told them about the anxiety that I feel and where it comes from and how it works, she kind of cued in on it. Oh, 2 in a row with the butter knife. She kind of cued in on it right away, and she says, would you like to try something to reduce your anxiety? Now, I'll give you a tangible thing that you should keep in mind. For me, the first thing that she prescribed me for anxiety was something that's really commonly used. It's actually an antihistamine, kind of like Benadryl, but it's a slightly different formulation of it. It's called hydroxyzine. And some of you out there right now are nodding your heads going, oh yeah, I know hydroxyzine. For me, it kind of worked, but you kind of had to go, do I feel less stressed? I mean, I guess, right? It would take a while. It would make me horribly sleepy all the time. And it would get rid of some anxiety. Nice. But it would also cause me to, other side effects. I couldn't be as productive. I didn't feel as happy about things. And I wasn't able to go and, work out the aggression in places like here in Blade and Sorcery. All right. So after a while, what you got to realize is sometimes those medications won't work right away or at all for you for whatever reason. Your body chemistry is unique. Everyone's is. So when I talked to my therapist about it after about 6 months or so, she decided, okay, well, let's try this one instead. And the one that I take now is a little bit heavier. It's a medication that's used for anxiety and stress specifically. It's not... Well, no, wait a minute. I think it's used for something else, but it has an off-label prescription for stress and anxiety. And this thing, I pop one of these pills. I can take up to 2 a day. I pop one of these pills, and within 15 minutes, I'm just like, yeah, man. It's not like I feel drugged out or weird or anything. It's just like suddenly... all the bumps get smoothed out, right? I don't feel like crap. I'm like, there's some sounds outside, but no big deal. It's just people going by. Oh, look, there's a loud car going by. Hey, buddy, you got a nice engine. Instead of me going, would you just get by? I hate people, blah, 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 right? So for me, I had to find the right one. And again, we had to find the right dosage for it, okay? So it's a complicated process if you want to really take care of that stress and anxiety. Again, if it's something that affects your everyday life, impacts your ability to be productive or be happy. I do another video on happiness. Have I released that one? I think I have. A video that I did on why happiness is important and how you can find it in your life. Yes, you can stay happy, and if you've got ways to burn off some of that energy and that stress, perfect. If you don't, make sure that you find help for it. Make sure that you discover ways that are more medically based to take care of that stress and anxiety, because you will be a much happier You will be a much happier person if you can manage that, and if you need to add a little pharmaceutical help from a prescription or two, please, by all means, go do that. You'll be so much happier. You'll feel so much better about your life. Anyway, that's been kind of our long, deep dive episode into anxiety and stress. I hope it helped. And if nothing else, I hope it kind of gives you the idea that you're not alone when you feel this stuff. There are ways to take care of it, and no matter what people have said, I don't know, those medicines for anti-anxiety make me feel blah, or they make me feel blah. You yourself haven't gone and tried them. So give it a try, give it a chance. Don't go out there and just drink yourself into stupidity or take a bunch of dangerous pills. It's not good for you. And I care about that decision that you make. Really, if you need to talk about it, leave a comment below. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about stress and anxiety. I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but you know what? I'm a real person suffering from real problems, just like you, and that means I might be able to help. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one here on Orpheus Plays. Maybe playing Blade and Sorcery next time, maybe not. You never know. Stay tuned. All the mystery is right there for you. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!